Hello everyone and welcome to today's Parent in My Pocket Q&A. Hope you've all been keeping safe and well this last week, and I hope that you've been enjoying good weather where you are, and if not, I hope you've been making the most of being indoors. Definitely things seem to be changing across the world a lot faster than maybe they are in Ireland. I know I have friends in the UK who are saying they're getting to get back out, start to engage with people. I have friends in the US, same. So it's great to see some sort of shift for a lot of people, which is fantastic. I think it's really important that we all start to get back to some sort of normality. We need to find a way to live with this whole coronavirus and everything about it. Um, I have issues with maybe the way things have been run here in Ireland, but what can I do? I'm just one person and I can't change the world and I can't take responsibility for that. But I hope for everybody that they are starting to see some light at the end of the tunnel and that things are actually starting to change on a practical level. So this week in Ireland, we started back kids sports, which is fantastic. I was out in the car quite a bit last night, but I got to go to the beach while my kids were at football training. Same again tonight, off to football training. Tomorrow night, football training. Saturday, football training, um, drama as well in there somewhere. So it's all good. It's great. I'd much rather be out and I'd much rather them have their sports, which is really, really important. So we've got a couple of questions today that we'll delve into in a second. I'm trying to think, is there any updates for you? Motivation Interview Podcast. For those of you who listen to the Motivation Interview Podcast, the very first one in the new series, Series 5, is coming out this Friday. So I'll be sticking an announcement out about that with the wonderful Dr. Mary O'Kane. So those of you tuning in from Ireland may know Mary O'Kane through her TV work, her work on the radio. She does a lot on TV3. She does a lot on, or Virgin Media TV now as it's called. She does a lot on Today FM as well. So myself and Mary met we were both on a panel giving talks a few years ago, and we've just kind of stayed in touch. And yeah, we get to chat about her book, which has just come out. We also get to chat about her life and the influences she had to get her to becoming a doctor, which was really, really interesting. She didn't necessarily follow the conventional route. She wasn't someone who went straight into academia after school. She went, I suppose, what some people would say, the long way around, but her determination got her to where she is today. And I think not only her determination, but also her ability to relate to people. So that's coming out on Friday. So in your podcast app, on the Motivation Interview Facebook page, if you don't know about that, head on over. There's a new Facebook page. Excuse me. We set up earlier this year, where a lot of the podcasts are being shared on a weekly basis. So head on over, give it a like, and you'll see it pop up there. What else? Yeah, there's not much else. Obviously, the courses are still staying at the same reduced price for the time being. And I think something that I've noticed that over the last few weeks, well, probably months really, is that the levels of anxiety people are experiencing. So if you or your children are experiencing anxiety, I had 2 missed calls there from parents looking for me to work with their children. Get in touch. There are ways that we can give them the skills to be able to manage things a bit better. If you're struggling with anxiety, get in touch. We'll give you those tools to be able to manage things a little bit better. So give me a shout if you are interested in that. The other thing is, I'd love to hear what kind of courses or mini courses you guys would be interested in, because we have our courses up on the Teachable School, and we have 3 of them there, but I'm open to adding more. So if you guys want to let me know what kind of courses you'd be interested in, just let me know and I'll look at getting them done and uploaded. They're all very much practical courses, so it could be very, very beneficial. Anything else? I don't think so. Hi guys, lovely to see everybody in the chat. I hope you're all well. Maria, how's the weather in Ireland? The weather is a bit overcast today. We were due to have lots of rain that I don't think materialized, although I've been sitting in this box pretty much all day, so I can't be sure. But yeah, it's okay. It's not wet. I see the weather is good if it's not wet. Jennifer, I hope you and yours had a pleasant week and doing well. Enjoyed your new podcast with Mary. That's the one with Mary O'Donoghue. Thank you. Yes. Myself and Mary had our latest podcast come out today. I think it was to do with perceptual positioning, I think. You'll have to remind me, Jennifer. I think that's the one we've put out today, where we get to look at ourselves through the eyes of people we admire. But check it out. It's a really simple technique. It's really effective in helping to give us a different perspective on how we view ourselves. Wow, lots of you tuning in. I look a wee bit blurry. That's just me. It's just been one of those weeks. And you can't hear me very well. Okay. Now this is an issue. I don't know what's happening there. The sound appears to be okay. Can everyone else hear me okay? Let me bring this a bit closer. And if we go, yeah, how's that one? Is that any better? I hope it is. The sound definitely seems to be good. So hopefully you guys can hear me. It's lovely and sunny there today. Great. So we got a couple of questions. Give me a shout. Let me know. Can you hear okay, guys? Give me a thumbs up or something there in the comments. Amanda, hi, good to see you. Gina, good to see you. Kathy, good to see you. Maria, sound and video fine for me. Good. I'm not having any issues for a change. Excellent. Is that in general, Gina, or is that just with this? Jennifer, well, it's always been a bit quiet, but I guess it's Facebook. Maybe turn up the volume. Sorry, Jennifer, I don't mean to be cheeky. Yeah, it seems like the sound is okay for most of you, so we will crack on. Kathy, it's good for you too. Great. Okay, question 1. Hi, Alan. This is an unusual one. How to deal with toxic in-laws and their inaction with your children when they are trying to turn your child against you as you are no longer under their control. Short and sweet. Yeah. So what I'm taking from this, and please correct me if I'm wrong, is that maybe you're no longer with your partner where your in-laws are not part of your life maybe as much. That's what I'm kind of taking, where you're no longer under their control, or maybe you were living with them and you moved out. I'm not quite sure. Or maybe financially you're no longer under their control. But ultimately, we cannot control anybody else. It's one of the hardest things that we as human beings can come to terms with, is that we cannot control anyone else. Unless we have a gun pointed to someone's head, we cannot control how they act, how they are, how they treat us, how they treat other people. But we don't have to put up with being mistreated by other people. That is within our control. It's not easy necessarily to control, but it is within our control. So what I mean by that is that it's interesting that this is coming up today, because I was working with a couple of people today who are having issues with family members and how they've been treated by their family members. But what a lot of them are, one of the biggest challenges we all have is family because of family. So family is fantastic. Family are the ones that will usually always look out for us. Family are the ones who will be there for us most of the time. But a lot of the time, family can be undermining. They can be controlling. They can be dismissive. They can treat us like we are children, whether that's parents or siblings or grandparents. So one of the hardest things in my experience for people that I've worked with is to make themselves equal in relation to their family, and especially parents, your own parents, because a lot of parents will maintain that control or try and maintain control over adults, over adult children. and we'll let them know when they're making mistakes. We'll let them know if they think they're making mistakes, even if they're not making mistakes. We'll tell them what to do. We'll tell them how to manage their lives. And what happens as adult children is we cede control of our own sense of self worth to these people that are their own, have their own issues, and their opinions of us are only opinions. Just because they're our parents, just because they're our siblings, just because they're our relatives, doesn't mean they're right. It's just their opinions. For those of you who've never heard me say it, my favorite. I'm not a big poetry fan. Um, the my favorite poem, and I'm going to read it to you now. So this is a poem by a guy called Philip Larkin called This Be the Verse. And this is where I put in the disclaimer. If you have children in the room listening with you, or if you're listening to the podcast, maybe stop the podcast right now or send the children out for a minute, because there will be some language that they may not appreciate, or you may not appreciate them hearing. So this is your disclaimer. Or if you're of a sensitive nature, turn it down. So this be the verse by Philip Larkin. They fuck you up, your mum and dad. They may not mean to, but they do. They fill you with the faults they had and add some extra just for you. But they were fucked up in their turn by fools in old style hats and coats, who half the time were soppy stern and half at one another's throats. Man hands on misery to man, it deepens like a coastal shelf. Get out as early as you can and don't have any kids yourself. I love that poem. And I love that poem because the subtleties in it are, there's a lot of truth. So our parents are the subject of their parents and their surroundings and the things that impacted on them and their parents, and so on and so on and so on. But these are all just opinions. And we don't have to live by those opinions. We don't have to take those opinions on board because maybe they're not the truth for us. And we are on this planet for whatever amount of time that we're on this planet. And we have a choice in how we live, but we allow ourselves to be restricted or influenced negatively and positively by our family members. So here we have a person whose in-laws, not even their own family, but their in-laws are trying to control and maybe trying to turn the children against this person. So what I'd say to you is, you cannot stop them from doing it. I'm assuming if you could, you would. You would have asked them, look, stop speaking about me like this to my children. All you can do is reassure your children that if they're coming back to you and saying, Mum, Dad, this is what's been said to me about you. And if it's not true, reassure your child that what you're hearing is not the truth. I am promising you this is not the truth. If it was the truth, so if there was a relationship breakup due to an affair, and that was you, and your kids are coming to you going, "Oh, mom, dad, this is what Granny said, that you had an affair and that you ruined my mom or my dad." It's okay to say, "I made a mistake," but that does not mean that I don't love you, or that I don't regret or feel bad for what I did. Okay? Because you're teaching your children that it's okay to make mistakes, but that doesn't define who you are. So, as long as we learn from our mistakes and try and change our behavior so it's not repeating over and over, ultimately, what we're looking to do here is take your in-laws out of the picture in terms of your relationship with your children. So, being as open and as honest as your children can comprehend and understand. So, sitting with them, explaining that what they're being told is not actually the truth, and that your relationship with them is the most important thing for you. No matter what anybody else says, you are the most important person to me. Now, your challenge may be to prove that through your being consistent with them. So if they're not with you all the time, if they live with another parent sometimes or in-laws other times, make sure that you are there for them. Make sure that you do turn up on time. Make sure that you don't miss those appointments to give ammunition to the in-laws. So be there. Show your children that you're consistent. Tell them that you are always there for them, and that what they're hearing is not the truth, and that you hope that they believe you. Because the other thing is, it's not about putting your children under pressure to be going back to the in-laws and saying, well, I spoke to my dad and he said that's not true, or I spoke to my mum and she said that's not true, and that you're a liar. Because you don't want to get your children caught in the middle of something that is not their making. It's not your making, it's not their making, it's the in-laws. But as we're saying, we cannot control them. So what I'd suggest you do is sit your kids down, reassure them that you love them, show it through your actions, and then let them know that we can't control what other people say about us, but we have a choice over whether we let it in to influence our relationships with other people. And I'm not going to do that. I'm not going to let that in, change our relationship, because you are the most important thing to me, or you guys are the most important thing to me, not what they say, not what they do, you. And we're going to have our relationship, and I'm going to work my ass off to make sure that I am the best parent I can be for you. And a lot of the time, that might be enough. It might be enough. Not on an ongoing basis, but maybe in maybe it's that little nugget that they hold in the back of their head in those moments where they're unsure of themselves or insecure about where they are in the world, and they can go, well, dad has told me that, or mum has told me that they love me, and that they are not going to let other people change our relationship. And they're showing that to me, and I believe them, because I want to believe them. Because, like I say, each week you are going to be the biggest influence, one of the biggest influence on your children, and you are also going, they're going to learn about how to be an adult from watching you. So try and be the best adult that you can be. Try and be the best parent that you can be, and just constantly be there for them. I know it might sound simple, but it's true, because, like, if you need to go and work on the impact that these in-laws are having on you, you don't have to do it on your own. Speak to somebody about it, because they'll help you process that and get you to a point where actually what they say about me doesn't actually impact on me, because they're not part of my life anymore. They do not control me. They cannot control me anymore. So of course the reason they're going to use the children is because they can't control you anymore. So that's why they're using the children. It's not fair, it's not right, it's not okay, but you can't stop it unless you can go and get them, court injunction where they're not involved in the children's lives. But then there is other things that you need to manage in that, in terms of letting the kids know why granny, granddad, auntie, uncle, whoever is not in my life anymore. But for the most part, just be there, be consistent, and just keep reassuring every time it comes up, this is not the truth. Me and you know the truth. We know the reality, and I'm here for you, and that's not going to affect our relationship. And just see how that goes. I'm not going to guarantee it, because I don't like guaranteeing things, but I suspect it will have the desired impact of helping your child feel settled in themselves. It may not. It may be getting drilled into them, and that's where you may need to go to a court and say, look, my children are being psychologically abused or impacted, or there's parental alienation going on here, and we need to stop this. And that might be what you have to do, and that's a pain. That's, no one wants to have to go down that route, but if you do, well, then do it, because your children are probably the most important thing. You sent in an email, so obviously they are the most important thing to you. I hope that works out. Um, I always say you get what you tolerate. Yeah, Jennifer. I don't know if that's true for me, but I think we can definitely look at not accepting things that are not the reality, and not allowing people to mistreat us. And if that means cutting family members out of our lives, we may need to do it. Maria, I always got told to trust my gut instinct. Absolutely. Your gut will rarely send you wrong. Nobody's perfect. We all make mistakes. We learn from our mistakes. Yep. Lisa, it's a bit blurry. Johnny Late, looking forward to listening back. Okay, we got one more question. We have a 14-year-old son. We've decided to move him out of his current school to another one from the coming September. We kind of made the decision without really consulting him on it. I have a feeling where this is going. We have been concerned about his behaviour and lack of motivation since he went into the school, and also we think that the group of people he hangs around with are really negative and are a bad influence on him. He will be going into third year in September, and we wanted to have him to have the best chance possible to do well in his junior cert without distractions. When we broke the news to him, he absolutely flipped out and said he wasn't going to go. And if we made him go, he would do everything he can to get himself expelled. He said we were such selfish parents and he couldn't believe that we would make this decision without him. He literally hasn't spoken to us for 3 days. We believe we've made the right decision for him and that in time he will understand and forgive us. How can I get him to see that this is in his best interests? Oh, that's really, really challenging. I think, okay, you guys have made, like you said, the best decision. What you think is the best decision right now for your son, and I would assume that there is a reason why you didn't consult him, because he would probably have said, "No, I'm not moving," because that's how he's reacting. So we can't go back and erase that. We can't change what's happened. What's happened has happened. That's just the way it is. So it's about managing the situation. Now, the fact that the end of the sentence there, we believe we've made the right decision for him and that in time he'll understand and forgive us, you're probably right. In time, he will probably understand, he will probably forgive you, and life will carry on. But it doesn't mean that there isn't going to be a rocky patch now. So look, the reality is this has just been sprung upon him. So while you're saying he's been unmotivated and his friends are a negative influence, I'm kind of getting the impression that maybe his friends think that he thinks his friends are amazing, and that that school is working out pretty well for him because he's having the crack and he's having a great time with his friends. So he completely disagrees with you, and I think the important piece in what you said was that in time he'll forgive you. We 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 can't rush through the his process. So I doubt there is anything you can say or do right now that's going to make him go, okay, I accept it. Now he might say, you might ask him, well, what can we do to make this okay? And he might go, well, go and get me a PlayStation 5 and a brand new iPhone 12, and I'll consider, not, giving you the silent treatment. But that's not probably beneficial for anybody. So what I'd suggest is that you sit down with them, maybe in a day or two. So give him another couple of days. He's not going to stay not talking to you forever, but give him maybe a day or two. And you can either approach him and see will he talk to you. And if he won't talk to you, write him a note. Write him a letter. Don't send him a text. Write him a letter. Take the time to sit down with a piece of paper and a pen and explain to him your decisions, not from the perspective of him doing wrong, him making mistakes, him being lazy, him being unmotivated, his friends being a bad example. You don't have to put it that way, because the chances are, as soon as he sees that, all he sees is criticism of him and his friends, and he's already got that because you're changing his school for him. So write a letter from the I perspective. The reason, or the we perspective, sorry. The reason we have made this decision is because we want, like you said in your message, we want to give you the best possible chance to do as well as you can. And we don't think that the structures within the school that are there right now that you're in are going to give you that best chance possible. And we as parents, we are responsible for giving you the best start in life that we can. And we have to make the best decisions that we think are the best ones in any given moment. And we make mistakes. But this is the best decision we think we can make right now for you. And we understand that you may not be happy. And we understand that you'll be disappointed. And we understand that you're upset. It's completely okay for you to be upset. But we want you to know that we're making this decision out of our best interest for you. We believe this will give you the best chance. And we hope that you can understand our reasoning for it, and that we're ready to talk to you about it if and when you are ready to talk to us about it. But we love you. That's the only reason we're making this decision, because we love you and we want the best for you. So see how that goes. Give it. He might stand there and he might tear it up in front of your face before he even reads it. And there's nothing you can do about that, unfortunately. So maybe it's not about how he reacts, because you can't control how he reacts. But maybe it's about trying to explain to him without physically explaining it to him, because that way he can process it in his own time. And ultimately, it doesn't sound like you're going to go back on your decision. You've made your decision. That's what's happening. And I wouldn't even get into the whole thing of, I'm not going to try, I'm not going to go, I'm going to get myself expelled. That's just reaction. That's just reaction to what is being put to him right now. And ultimately, worrying about that or talking about that right now is only going to give it legs. And he may go into the new school and he may love it. He may walk in, fall madly in love with somebody, and live happily ever after. Who knows? But if he doesn't, if he goes in and is disruptive or refuses to go in or gets himself expelled, well, you're going to have to deal with that anyway. So discussing it and worrying about it before it may or may not happen actually serves no purpose. So I wouldn't even delve into that. So erase that from your memory. It's just a reaction. We have all said things that we don't mean when we're angry, when we're upset. It's just part of life, what we do. Write him the letter and then see how that goes. And if in a week's time he's still not talking to you, maybe it's then time to sit down and go, okay, look, this needs to change, because if you're not engaging with us, well then, why should we be the ones to be making food, buying you clothes, whatever? Time to cop on and grow up a bit. That's just the way life goes. You're going to a new school, whether you like it or not, and that's just it. Cop on, right? Now, lots of parents might try that, and their children will be stunned. Lots of parents wouldn't try it, but the reality is he does. He has to just deal with it, and he will. He will. Best of luck with it. I hope it goes okay. Guys, thank you all.